Well, our next guest, Marc Lotter, worked for both President Trump and Vice President Pence. He says if you want to get in the ring for 2024, you're going to have to knock Trump out. I think that's a fair statement. Marc, great to see you. What did you think of the speech?
I thought it set the table for the campaign to come, whether it's obviously Donald Trump or any candidate who is going to be taking on the incumbent president. Look, there's one big difference between 2020 and 2024. Joe Biden has a record. He didn't have a record in 2020. He was a hypothetical president. Well, guess what? Inflation, gas prices, crime, education, your vaccine mandates, all of that is on the table. You own your record, and whoever picks up the America First agenda, whether it's Donald Trump or someone else, they're going to run a policy-based campaign focused on how we can get our country going back again.
And he stayed on point. I really have to give him that. Last night, Donald Trump did. And there were three. You mentioned the one thing, he focusing on the failures of the Biden administration. He didn't mention the border, by the way, which is another thing he focused on. But the first part was focusing on his own accomplishments, not only economic and energy independence and that sort of thing, but also on foreign policy achievements. And then finally, he ended up talking about how he would get us out of the rut that we're in right now. So it was really a tripart focus there on the failure of Biden, the accomplishments of Trump first term, and the future if he gets another term.
And that's really what the American people want. And I think, given the challenges that we face on just about every single front, where the Biden administration has turned success into failure, they're going to want the roadmap out. And so the challenge for any America First candidate, whether it's the president, whether it's, someone else, is to say, how are you going to do it? How are you going to take those Trump policies and bring them back so we can start winning again? You saw the former president lay that out last night. I have a feeling that, as more candidates get into the race, if that's what happens, they're all going to focus on Trump policies. It's just going to be a question of, obviously, who do we trust, who the American voters trust to make that final case and then take that battle right to Joe Biden.
Let me give you two Republican views of what Donald Trump said, one positive, one negative. Start with the negative, which came from his former vice president, your former boss, Vice President Pence. Roll tape.
I honestly believe that we're going to have better choices. I hear people saying that they would like us to move forward with leadership that will unite our country around our highest ideals and reflect the kind of respect and civility that the American people demonstrate to each other every day. It's time that we had leadership in this country that reflected that commitment to respect for every American.
Now, I should mention that was before the speech, so he didn't have a chance to really digest the speech in his comments about Trump. But then we have Lindsey Graham, who wrote on tweet after the speech. He said, if President Trump continues with this tone and delivers this message on a consistent basis, he will be hard to beat. Where do you come out on that?
Well, I think, as I said the other day, when you look at the polling right now, he is the 800-pound gorilla on the right side. And if someone else is going to try to knock him from that perch, then the challenge is on you to do that. But I think the interesting thing, again, many people will probably talk about personalities and those kinds of things. I think the answer is going to lie in the policies. I think every candidate is going to be running on the Trump policies because they worked, and we'll trust the American people to decide who's going to be who's going to carry that mantle into 2024, because the Biden record's not a good one, and he can't hide from it coming up.
Well, it's going to be an interesting primary process. I got to say, we don't often have a former president run. I think it's only happened about twice in the primary process where a former president has run. Marc, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.